What's going on YouTube? So 2021 so far has been a big year for electric crossovers with the Bolt EUV, Mustang Mach-E, and now this Volkswagen ID.4. This is the first full electric Volkswagen to come to the US. And where many of the rivals are targeting Tesla, the ID.4 has its sights set on mainstream consumers ready to make the switch to electric. So how well does it pull off that mission? Let's go ahead and find out. So of course the ID.4, being an electric crossover, does have a unique identity to it. And that really shows in the design, which doesn't look anything like most crossovers or most Volkswagens. So up here in the front, what you'll notice is, of course, being an electric vehicle, you don't need a traditional grille, so this is mostly going to be all sealed off. This portion right here would be black on all the models. Of course, this one being black, it just kind of blends in for a stealthy look. And you'll also notice a cool element going across the front, and this is a light bar. So on this first edition, as well as the Pro S, you have this going across, and on some of the models, you also have the light up Volkswagen logo as well. Now scooting over here to your headlights, you do of course have standard full LED headlights. They're going to be reflector LED headlights. However, on this model, we have the higher end projector LED headlights, which also have adaptive abilities, and they also have these cool textures inside of them to give it a very unique look. So with this ID.4, Volkswagen's including nice looking wheels across all of the trim levels. So you actually have a standard 19-inch contrast alloy wheel on the lower end models. And then here with this first edition, we have the really large 20-inch alloy wheels, which I think have a very nice design and really match nicely with the overall exterior aesthetic. Now, being the first edition, of course, we have our dedicated first branding. And then coming up here to your mirrors, they are going to be heated as standard equipment, as well as blind spot monitoring. And then on the Pro S and the first edition, they do also power fold.
Now I do have a few things to talk about here at the side with the all-new ID.4. You're probably noticing that this has a sleeker design than the average crossover. It's a little bit lower as well, so it does kind of have a sleek and cool design. Now, as far as other things, you're probably noticing this right here. Even though this is a fully black model, the roof would have been black if we chose any other exterior color, and you're also going to get the silver accent if you go for the first edition model or a gradient package on the other trim levels. Now, if we head around to the rear design itself, it's going to have a really cool exterior design. I'm a really big fan of the way this back end looks, and a big component of that are going to be these full LED taillights. Now, as you can see, every individual element in here is LED. It goes all the way across the back, including the turn signal as well as the reverse light. Then if we drop down, we have white ID.4 branding, and we have some black plastic moldings. And of course, you're not going to have any exposed exhaust outlets, but you can tow 2,700 pounds. Now, as you would expect with an all-new crossover, you're going to have all of your safety systems standard across the board. So that's going to be your auto high beam headlamps, your adaptive cruise control, as well as your forward emergency braking and your lane keeping assist. Now, anyway, guys, that's going to sum up the really cool exterior design of this all-new ID.4. I think it looks much better in person, even in picture, so you should probably come check one out. But now let's go ahead and check out the inside. And before we do that, hit that subscribe button down below.
So on the ID.4, we have a brand new fob for the Volkswagen brand. As you can see, it's very premium, finished in a gloss piano black with a little metal trim around the side and these kind of touch capacitive looking buttons. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, this handle does not come out, so you just reach behind, there is a sensor, and then the door will open right up. All right. And taking a look inside of this cabin, of course, this does not really resemble any current Volkswagen whatsoever. It certainly has that really cool minimalistic look that we kind of expect from electric vehicles. Now with your different interior color and material choices, Volkswagen keeps it fairly simple. So the base Pro model, when that comes out, will come with cloth seating and black only. However, the Pro S and this first edition, they come with the VTEX leatherette seating in your choice of this black, or you can also get a white color option as well. Now turning over here to your door trim, you do have some nice materials. We have a leatherette, goes across the armrest. This portion here is finished in a white contrast plastic, and the top part is soft touch. I do want to point out the window controls. As you can see, there's only 2 buttons here, even though you have 4 windows, and that's because you have to press the rear button to operate the rear windows, of course, and then when that's not highlighted, these are for the front windows. Now you may have heard about this by now, but on the first edition we have the really cool play and pause pedals there, which I think is a really neat touch. And as far as the seats here, these are going to be 12-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support as well as memory seating. And then like I was saying, this is a leatherette seat. This is a very nice and realistic feeling leatherette, very soft. You've got the ID branding kind of perforated up there, as well as a really nice hexagon perforation that runs through, and they're very comfortable to set in. Now let's go ahead and take a look around the cabin materials. So across our upper dash here, this is all going to be finished in a textured soft touch plastic. As we move down, we have a silver trim that goes around this display. Down through here, this is going to be hard touch. And down along the bottom here, this is also hard touch, but we do have a nice piece of piano black, which I think classes up the way this looks, and everything in here does fit together very well without any panel gaps. Now with the ID.4, you don't actually have to push anything to start it up. Just like with Tesla and a few other automakers, put your foot on the brake and it will start up. Now after it starts up, you'll probably notice the gauge cluster. So this is a 5.3-inch display. It does come, of course, on all of the models, and has a really nice resolution with all your critical information, like your speed, your music, stuff like that. And you can control different things like the view right here on the steering wheel. Now, what I wanted to point out is more interesting than even that is the fact that up here at the top, you have this light bar that runs around the bottom of the windshield. And there's some cool things that this can do. It can indicate like the direction of upcoming turns, incoming calls, charge status, and it also shows you a response to the voice assistant. So for instance, I can say, "Hello ID.4.
Please repeat."
And as you can see, it does respond right up there with a light, just in the same way that you get with like a Google Home or any other Amazon Voice Alexa. Now coming back to the steering wheel, we have a really nice looking full white leather steering wheel on this first edition. It does have nice piano black accents. This is the newest Volkswagen design, and it is flat bottom down here at the bottom. The leather wrapping and the heating is standard equipment. And the steering wheel, of course, is manually adjusting, as you can see. Now, the neat thing I want to point out, though, is the fact that, as you can see, all of this moves together, so the shifter and to the shifter. But anyways, now let's go ahead and check out interior storage next. As you might expect, with pretty much nothing over here, it's really a great situation for storage. So as you can see, we've got the adjustable armrest, kind of like minivan style, and you can push those out of the way and use this open area for anything. When you open up this console here, you have plenty of space. Volkswagen has included some little inserts here, so you can actually use this as an additional cup holder or remove them. You also have got 2 USB ports right there, and this large area right here with a rubber lining, this was used as your wireless phone charging pad. And this is a nice place where your phone won't slide around or anything like that. Now moving above that, we've got 2 large cup holders located right here. We also have some kind of open space through here, so this does have a bit of a pass-through, so you can stick any types of loose items or a purse or something like that right in that area. But now let's go ahead and pop on up here to the shifter, since that of course is one of the main reasons you have so much storage in the center, since it's up here way out of the way. Now Volkswagen has come up with a kind of unique shifter design here. So this basically just twist. So for drive, of course, you're just going to put your foot on the brake, twist it forward to D. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but as you do that, I'll do it again. It does show up in this main display up here to give you that visual representation you're in gear. You can twist this again to go into B, which is basically enhanced brake regeneration, a lot stronger of a sensation if you like that. Of course, for reverse, you'll go in the opposite direction. And when you do, you will see a standard backup camera across all models with front and rear parking sensors, as well as active trajectory. However, there's not a 360-degree camera system available. And then for park, you're just going to press right on the end. Now, in terms of the rest of the interior, you'll notice there's, not really a lot going on. Most of your stuff, or most of the rest of the stuff, is going to be located right in here in this really clean and simple format to keep everything very minimalistic. So you'll notice up here you have these little subtle controls. This shows you for your dual zone automatic climate control setup. So to adjust our temperature, we can actually just swipe along this touch sensitive pad on both sides to do your different zones. If you have any specific concerns with the climate, you can press the climate button right there, and that will pull up either smart climate control, where you can be like, help me warm my feet or something like that, which is very interesting that they have this, or you can just go into the classic mode where you can do your zones and fan speeds manually. And this is your control for your heated steering wheel, as well as where you locate your standard 3-stage heated seats. Now, in that same area, you also have this touch sensitive pad. This is for your audio controls. So standard across all the models is going to be a 7-speaker sound system, and we'll go ahead and give that a sample right now. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system is very nice, which is of course important because in an electric vehicle it's very quiet and you definitely want to savor the sound of the audio system. Okay, so now that takes us to this main display. As you can see, this is a very large display and it does contain a lot of the functions of the vehicle inside of it. This is the brand new infotainment system for the Volkswagen brand. And I have to say, just right from the start, as soon as you look at it, it's very impressive graphically. Beautiful, very modern looking design, and everything in here is pretty responsive as well. So here's our home display. You can also swipe over here to the side to see kind of a list of your different applications. And just like with all the other Volkswagens, it does have proximity sensing, so as you move closer to it, it does recognize that and pull up like additional menus and things like that. Now, as far as the displays themselves, I should mention that the Pro model is going to come standard with a 10-inch display, while the Pro S and this first edition will come with this larger 12-inch display. Here we are in the navigation system, which I will show off to you guys. Of course, this has really nice resolution and looks nice. Additionally, you do have standard wireless Android Auto and standard wireless Apple CarPlay as well. And I won't get into really any of the other features because this is a very complicated system, so I'll save that maybe for an additional video. Now moving on up here, we do have a frameless auto-dimming mirror. And then up at the very top, we've got a really large panoramic sunroof. We have a power sunshade on this, and you just swipe back on this touch-sensitive panel, and that will start to slide back the sunshade. Now as it opens up, you'll notice this is going to be one large piece of glass. This is a fixed panoramic sunroof, so it does not open up, but as you can see, it does make for a really awesome, all-encompassing view.
Alright, so I'm in the ID.4's rear seat, and first of all, my pretty much first impression is that it feels very spacious back here, especially with this panoramic moonroof, and really the legroom figures are actually quite good. So you're going to have 38 inches of both leg and headroom, which does place it above stuff like the Toyota RAV4 and right on par with that segment, and it is a slight bit less than the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Now, as far as behind rear seating position, I would estimate I have probably 8 to 10 inches of rear legroom, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat, so this is certainly very comfortable. Now, as far as the features Volkswagen is going to throw in, here in the center we do have vents mounted very, very low here on the floor with 2 USB Type-Cs above that. And then if we drop down the center armrest, we do have cup holders inside, but you're not going to have rear seat heating or anything like that. Now, walking up to the tailgate, if you go for the Pro S model and higher, that's going to give you a hands-free power one, so just wave your foot under the bumper to open it. Second time's the charm. And as far as the space itself is concerned, it's going to be 30 cubic feet behind the second row seat. That expands all the way up to 64 cubic feet. If you fold them down, that's above the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and that's really quite a bit of space. You know, you can fit a lot in this cargo department. Now, as far as how they finished it, we do have a really quite nice carpeting along the floor. If we lift it up, we do have additional storage up under here, and if we lift up again, then there's even more space down below that. Off to the right and left sides, we do have cubbies, one of which you can throw the charger in, and we do also have a cargo cover, and the seats do fold. Now, even though this is an electric vehicle, if we open this up, there's not going to be a frunk, so that's going to be a distinct con of going for this. Even though there's a lot of space in the back, there's not going to be any space up here in the front. Now, here at your passenger seat, you are going to actually have power adjustment. We also have 2-person memory even here on this side. And if we open up the glove box, this is going to be a very good space, especially for our coupons. Obviously, that's a super important part about buying a vehicle, because you probably want to save money on gas and on food. So there you go, they fit in there just fine. And if we open up the sun visor, we have the typical Audi Volkswagen sun visor with the LED light, a small mirror, and we can also detach. However, we cannot extend.
And that's 60 miles per hour. So obviously, being an electric car, you kind of just accelerate drama-free, in silence. And this model here at launch, what this is aimed at, like we talked about, is the mainstream market. So this is not a super powerful electric car like a Model Y performance or something like that. This is aimed to have about the same performance as you would get from a gasoline rival like a RAV4. And that's basically what you get. So this has an 82 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack, and it's making 201 horsepower, 229 pound-feet of torque. So it definitely has nice punch as you start to take off, and then you just kind of build speed linearly after that, going up to 60 in about 7 seconds, which is right on par with, or probably a little faster than most gas rivals.
Yeah. And I honestly do not think that's a bad thing. Volkswagen has been very clear about how this is supposed to compete with like a Toyota RAV4. And, quite frankly, I would rather just accelerate in silence than to listen to a kind of loud 4-cylinder. So if you're not getting a lot of performance, you might as well go for this full electric, option anyway.
And that's not to say that there won't be more performance, because there will. Not right now, but coming up shortly, there's going to be a all-wheel drive version, which will introduce a rear or a front electric motor in addition to the rear electric motor, and that is going to produce more power. Now, since I was talking about that, this is rear drive right now, and then, like I said, you'll get the more powerful option plus the all-wheel drive later.
But just kind of cruising along here, I do want to mention the ID.4 and how it, rides and drives. First of all, I think that it does really do a good job in its ride quality. I haven't noticed, when we hit a bump, nothing really transfers into the cabin, which I think is a great thing.
We have big wheels on this one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
This one has the largest wheels since it is the first edition, and it really just does a good job. I think is honestly quieter than most in the segment as well, and we will get a sound level reading later in this drive.
And of course, being an electric vehicle, there's probably no more important statistic than your range, and this does have a really good range. So with the rear drive model that we have available right now, that's going to be 250 miles of range. The Volkswagen doesn't have any specific numbers with all-wheel drive yet, but that's definitely a good number. That's well within plenty of range for like most people's everyday living for sure. As we know, having a Model 3 with 220 miles of range, that's definitely plenty for everyday life around the city.
And as far as the charging is concerned, obviously that's a very important part. It's capable of 125 kilowatt DC fast charging. Obviously this isn't going to have like a Tesla supercharge network, but you do have Electrify America, and Volkswagen is offering the 3 years of free charging. So that's pretty neat. If you do have an Electrify America station around you, you can charge for free for the first 3 years.
Right, and unlimited too, so that could definitely add up to a pretty nice perk. Yeah, not bad.
I mean, I can't complain about that at all.
Yeah. Now coming up to this red light, I do want to mention something, brake regeneration. So Volkswagen's done something kind of interesting where most electric cars have really strong brake regen to, of course, bring power back into the battery. Volkswagen's decided, since they're going after the mainstream buyer, and that's a little bit of something hard to get used to going from a gas car, they've really made it very minimal in this ID.4, especially when you're just in the default drive mode. There's basically no regen whatsoever, so you can really strongly coast. If you go into the B and turn up the regen, then you can still feel it, but even then it's still quite a bit lower than what you experience in like a Tesla, for example.
Alrighty guys, so it is airball and slam dunk time. Now I'll let Drew go ahead and discuss the airball today. It was pretty difficult to find something actually. This is a very solid vehicle all around.
One thing that I think has been a little bit difficult to get used to in the short time that we've spent with this is the shifter. A little bit strange in the operation. And I also find that I kind of want to twist it the opposite direction of the way it travels. So that takes a little bit of a learning curve, but I do appreciate that it's up out of the way and allows for storage in the center.
Yeah, and as far as the slam dunk, like I said, there's a lot to like about it, but I feel like the price is probably this vehicle's strong suit. So we've been yapping this whole review talking about how this competes with the RAV4, and indeed it does have a very RAV4-ish price. So the Pro rear drive is going to start at $39,995, so under 40 grand. All-wheel drive is $43,675, Pro S $44,495, Pro S all-wheel drive is $48,175, and this first edition, which is rear drive only, is $43,995. Now, you are probably like, well, that's not super cheap, but what you're forgetting is that Volkswagen does still qualify for that tax credit. So this one in particular is priced of a little over $45,000. You can go ahead and subtract $7,500 off of that depending on your tax situation, and you're looking at like a $37,500 as your price tag on this. And this has a lot of great features, a lot of features that you really probably can't even get in something like a RAV4. And I think that's really the con of a lot of electric vehicles, is that they're more expensive than the competition right now.
Right, so that really kind of takes care of that. And like you said, you really have just a very premium experience. This is a good car, not just a good electric crossover.
Well guys, we really appreciate you watching this in-depth review of the all-new 2021 Volkswagen ID.4. We really appreciate you watching this video, and if you made it this far, I know that means you probably enjoyed watching, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Help us out, and we can continue to provide great content to you. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.